however you feel about the Game of Thrones final season and the season finale, don't worry, there's no spoilers in this show, because you could argue Dan and David already spoils it.
That's gotta hurt.
No matter how you feel, life goes on, unless you're one of the ones campaigning for the whole of the final season to be rewritten. Lol. Well, life certainly does go on for the writer who created the world of Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, who wrote a blog post about the future of the franchise. A Game of Thrones game from. Well, that would be awesome, George. Now, why don't you just finish the books instead of writing all these stupid blog posts so we can actually find out, finally, what's supposed to happen in the story, not the stupid shows. A Game of Thrones is one of those huge IPs which has never really spawned any decent games. Yeah, we had a Game of Thrones Telltale game, which was so good that the sequel was flat out cancelled. And then we got Reign's A Game of Thrones last year, which is essentially a Westeros meets Tinder mobile game. And yeah, it was about as bland as it sounds. But now George R.R. Martin himself has confirmed that, quote, "I've consulted on a video game out of Japan," leading to much speculation about exactly who he's been consulting for. Back in March, it was rumoured that From Software were making an open world Game of Thrones title with George R.R. Martin as one of the lead writers. The game was said to have various kingdoms to visit and abilities to obtain from killing the leaders of those kingdoms. But as I said, that was just a rumour. Well, George's blog post seems to have almost validated that rumour, or at least increased the likelihood that this is actually a real thing. News outlet Gematsu also claimed to have a source familiar with the ongoings at From Software and claims that a game is set to be announced at E3 this year. The other claims detailed by Gematsu were that the game has already been in development for 3 years, that the game is indeed open world, it will feature horse riding, it is published by Bandai Namco, and that Hidetaka Miyazaki has been working with George R.R. Martin on the title. So no matter how you feel about the season finale of the TV show, there is still hope for gamers waiting for a decent Game of Thrones game. And say what you want about the TV show, we've learned one very important thing from all of this: that in comparison to the fans of the TV show, gamers don't seem so toxic and entitled anymore, do they? Hashtag not my Game of Thrones.
I think it's just people, innit, in general. People are inherently toxic and entitled, I guess.
Not as bad as those Game of Thrones TV fans.
1 million signatures on that bloody petition. 1 million.
Yeah, let's steer away from the TV show for now. We do love the TV show. We're not going to talk about it here. We might talk about it a little bit on the podcast on Sunday. We've been asked a couple of questions. We might go into that. Let us know if you want to hear our thoughts on what we thought about the finale and the whole of season 8.
Because are you even a gaming channel if you exclusively cover gaming? I mean, come on. Every other gaming channel has to flirt with other internet controversy for no bloody reason.
So we've pissed off the show fans. We've pissed off the Game of Thrones Telltale fans and the Game of Thrones Reigns fans. We've pissed off all the other gaming channel fans. Who else haven't we triggered?
Fan. You know what I don't like? I don't like people inherently.
So if it is a FromSoft game, the first question is it going to be a Soulsborne game? Is it going to be incredibly hard just for the sake of it? Is it going to be Jon Snowsborne, right?
Wow. How long have you been sitting on that one? All morning?
You know me. They just pop up, and I'm just full of these types of awesome puns, right?
Right, yeah, whatever you say. Well, if it's a FromSoft game in terms of the way they build their worlds and they're heavily detailed, that's cool. But Game of Thrones storytelling, it's so huge and covers hundreds of years and loads of characters. But FromSoft's traditional storytelling is very absent and abstract, and you've got to read little descriptions of things and figure things out for yourself. Yeah. And so I feel like those two don't necessarily marry up, but that could make for an interesting crossbreed of the two. Yeah, with George R.R. Martin helping with the lore, you can assume that he's filling in the gaps. He's helping with writing the story. We can assume if that's the case, I cannot wait to try this game. Open world is not FromSoft's forte. They haven't done that in the past, so be interested to see how that pans out. Is it an RPG? Is it just an action game? Are these powers, is it more fantasy than it's going to be like realism? I don't know. Game of Thrones is a weird mesh of fantasy and kind of realism, but it's obviously a fantasy. I mean, don't get me wrong, dragons aren't realism, is it? What?
But still, there's
oh man,
no, they're not real. Sorry about that. That being said, I'm really excited to see what they announce. E3. It's 3 weeks away. E3 weeks. That's all we got to wait.
It'll be interesting to see if this tries to follow the book canon or the show canon, or tries to do its own thing entirely.
The show is not canon.
Exactly. The
Sorry,
show
as a book reader, the show can go and do one.
But the show's in its own canon, that's what I mean. So if it tries to be beholden to the DB Weiss and Benioff version of the story, which is unlikely considering George R.R. Martin's working on this one.
That's worth a petition. If they do the TV show lore instead of the actual Game of Thrones world book, the proper books as they were written lore, if they do the TV show lore, I will be signing a bloody petition.
Petition to keep them out.
I'll be turned into a toxic, rage-fueled, entitled gamer. God. You mess with the Game of Thrones lore at your peril. Anyway, what's your favourite IP that was ruined by a game or a TV show? Let us know down in the comments.
Because there's a whole lot of them. There's a lot. Now all the unpleasant talk of Game of Thrones is out of the way, let's get to the real nice bit of the episode, and that's the daily news nuggets. When it comes to the development of Call of Duty games, the status quo has generally been that the 3 studios rotate their releases over 3 years. Infinity Ward are up next with their new title later this year, but poor Sledgehammer games are being skipped next year. The minds behind Call of Duty World War II and Advanced Warfare are being overlooked in favour of Treyarch once again to bring out Black Ops 5 in 2020, just 2 years after the previous entry instead of the usual 3.
As part of their investor relations presentation yesterday, Sony have been showing off some of the features coming with the PlayStation 5. In a video demonstrating the new hardware, it shows the new system loading a scene from the recent Spider-Man game. The scene, which takes over 8 seconds on the current Sony flagship system, the PS4 Pro, takes under a second on the new hardware. The company also reconfirmed the previously announced features coming with the system, such as an SSD, 8K support, ray tracing, and backwards compatibility. 2018's Game of the Year God of War was also confirmed to have sold in excess of 10 million copies. The news did come as a bit of a surprise to game director Cory Barlog, who responded to it with a tweet of an embarrassed emoji and the question, have we?
In other Sony miscommunication news, last week it was reported that Sony and Microsoft were entering into an unprecedented collaboration on cloud-based technologies, among other things. This was a top-level corporate collaboration, but the PlayStation team itself was reportedly blindsided by the announcement that was handled by more senior Sony staff. As we discussed last week, the partnership is most likely in response to the incoming calamity, Google Stadia.
Minecraft has finally surpassed Tetris as the biggest selling game of all time. Well, probably. A post on the Microsoft website confirms that the game has sold more than 176 million copies since launch in November 2011. However, estimates of the number of Tetris sales are between 170 million and 425 million. So, headlines aside, nobody can actually be sure which game has sold more.
Marvel have announced a collaboration with the Chinese internet technology company NetEase. This new partnership opens up new avenues for Marvel-related games, but also TV shows and comic books. The stage is set for something as grand and high budget as Insomniac's Spider-Man, but could equally end up being just another mobile game.
And as predicted by Gareth Evans the Oracle, Rage 2 has made it to number 1 in the sales charts this week, knocking Sony's Days Gone off the top spot. But it's not all good news for Rage, with physical retail sales in the UK down a massive 75% on the original. And yeah, I hear what you're saying. Who even buys physical anymore? Well, games industry Biz estimates that overall sales of Rage 2 are still down by half versus the original, even accounting for the increase in share of digital sales. So there. But it wasn't all bad news for Days Gone, which managed to retain the top spot in a number of countries, including France, Italy, New Zealand, and Switzerland.
The DLC for the indie sensation Dead Cells Rise of the Giant is coming to the Switch. The reportedly massive and free DLC was already released for PC and will finally hit the Switch on May 23rd. The DLC brings new content including 2 new areas, 2 new boss battles, 10 new foes, 3 new skills, 10 new weapons, and new skinning system.
And over the weekend, players of Red Dead Online were reporting a glitch which was causing a pile of, well, red dead horses According to Rockstar, this wasn't anything morbid or particularly interesting. It was just a simple glitch introduced in the Red Dead Online update earlier last week and has now been fixed.
Watch Dogs 3 is currently among the worst kept secrets in the gaming industry. It's all but officially confirmed that the game will take place in London, and a new leak on Reddit supports this and gives us even more potential details. According to the post, you will play as Sarah, a half-Asian, half-British counter-terrorism worker who can skateboard and do graffiti. Rad.
Because who doesn't want to play as Sarah, the half-Asian, half-British counter-terrorism worker who can skateboard and do graffiti? I mean, I know I do.
I mean, that's hip, right? We're going to turn our hats sideways and pull our socks up. We're going to listen to pop punk on the radio.
Totally cool, man.
So the game's meant to be in the future, but it looks like we're going back to the 90s.
Back to the future knees. That doesn't work.
Move along. Let's do a joke.
And today's joke of the day comes in from Not That Rob Lowe, who's posted this on the Pretty Good Gaming Discord, which you can get access for. Yeah, that's the right word. If you head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and you can get access if you pledge for as little as $1 per month, and it really helps the show out. So thank you very much. And this is well worth it. So bear with me. I once tried to show off to a girl by telling her I'd made a car entirely from spaghetti. She said she could never be with someone who made up such stupid lies. You should have seen her face when I drove straight past her.
For Christ's sake.
That made me laugh so much. You
hyped that so much.
That made me laugh so much. Thanks, Rob. You made my day with that one.
If you thought the social media drama was left to the beauty YouTubers, think again. Video game streamers are getting in on all that drama revenue too, and some are even taking legal action. Professional streamer and esports personality Turner Tfue is reportedly suing his esports team FaZe Clan, claiming that his contract violates California law. The law which is allegedly being broken is the Talent Agency Act, which requires any person or company who engages in the occupation of procuring, offering, promising, or attempting to procure employment or engagement for an artist to be licensed by the Labour Commissioner and conform to professional regulations. 21-year-old Tfue claims that he only receives 20% of the revenue from branded videos published on Twitch, YouTube, or social media, and only receives half the revenue from touring and appearances. Tfue reportedly signed a contract with FaZe Clan in April last year known as the Gamer Agreement, which dictates his earnings. FaZe Clan have responded with a statement saying, "We're shocked and disappointed to see the news of Tfue's press article and lawsuit. We have only collected a total of $60,000 from our partnership, while Tfue has earned millions as a member of FaZe Clan." The owner of the team, Ricky Banks, known as FaZe Banks, had some slightly stronger words to say. "The first thing I'd like to say is we do not and have never taken 80% of anyone's prize money. At the end of the day, this is all about money. More and more and more money." Clearly, Tfue felt he deserved millions of dollars in salary in addition to the millions he earns on his platforms. Tfue's lawyer, Brian Friedman of Friedman and Tatelman, claims that Tfue and my law firm are sending a message. The time is now for content creators, gamers, and streamers to stop being taken advantage of through oppressive, unfair, and illegal agreements. The gaming community deserves a safe environment that allows gamers the freedom to control their own careers. Tfue also claims that after being brought to the FaZe Clan home in Hollywood, he was encouraged to drink and gamble underage and was pressured to perform dangerous stunts in videos, one of which resulted in a permanent disfigurement to his arm.
Well, that is a lot to get your head round. I mean, I can feel for him if he feels that he's in some sort of contract that isn't legal or isn't fair, and maybe he signed it out of duress, or he signed it before knowing the full implications, and only when, a few months after, when he asked to get out of it, he was, turned down, and he realized, oh shit, this isn't as good as I thought it would be. And maybe he's looking at people like Ninja, who makes millions and millions streaming, and he feels he's not making enough. You can see maybe why his grievances are being raised. And I know that YouTube networks have done this in the past, or they're notorious for doing it in the past, locking YouTubers into contracts for long periods and only taking like 40% of their income, maybe even worse sometimes, taking a load of their income for doing not very much. So I'm not saying that he's right or wrong, or I'm not analysing the court case or anything, because I don't really know much about the case, but I can empathise with how he feels. But at the same time, FaZe is saying that we've only made 60 grand total from this dude, and he's made millions in the meantime. So how much has he profited from their name essentially being part of the FaZe clan? And that's another question. Like, is millions not enough for you? And boo-hoo, we held you down and forced alcohol on you when you were 20. Must be a hard life.
Yeah, there's loads of numbers being thrown in each other's directions. Like, you took this much money from me, and it's like, no, we actually took this much money. You've got all this money, and it's like, this kid. Well, he's not a kid; he's an adult. He signed it last year, so he would have been 20. Consenting adult, signed a contract. Yeah, if the contract is in breach of law, that's bad, and he's seeking the legal action like he should. But it very much seems to me like he's not happy where he is, and he's just kind of looking for an out. And he has got all this money, and in all of these court cases, even if the claimant isn't actively like being greedy, often these law cases are like, we can get all of this money if you angle it this way. Exactly. Yeah. They're all slimy. You can never trust a lawyer. Yeah, and what generally happens is you overclaim, and then eventually they concede more because you've claimed, because of the threat of going to, and then they'll settle on a certain figure and nobody will know what it is, and there's probably blame on both sides. Or that's generally the case anyway. I can't say, like I said, we don't really know the ins and outs. We don't really know this case personally. But have you got any opinions on whether the dude makes a Tfue, whether he makes enough money or not, or whether you feel sorry for him, whether you think that FaZe are in the right here or in the wrong? Maybe you think the terms are right. Maybe you think he's, if he signed his name, then it's on his own head. Be it, he signed it. It was his decision. Should he be, should we be bound by that contract or not? And any other thoughts that you've got, let us know. Why don't you enlighten us down in the comments? So the head of the FaZe clan, FaZe Banks, he put up a video. It was like half an hour long, something like that, and he's explaining his side of it, and he's super like, I still love the guy. He's great. I just want to be able to tell my side. I don't know why you're doing it, but he's still a friend, and that. And it seems very transparent. And it does seem like this whole lawsuit's completely come out of the blue, as like I'm leaving and I'm going to grab everything I can while I run away. Just like fill a sack of all the swag and just get out. And the most cynical among you might think that this is just a PR stunt, right? It might just be something to get into the headlines so that the guy gets, who's this streamer? Who's, gets a bit more exposure from the public. Oh, let's take a look at what this guy does. Let's have a look at this whole situation. Oh, who are FaZe? Who's this Tofu guy or whatever his name is? I don't fucking know. You can tell we really care about streamers. Yeah. So that's it from us for your Tuesday news roundup. We'll see you again tomorrow. Don't know what we're doing yet. We might do something. Who really knows? But if you want to stay up to date on what we're doing, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. Get all the notifications. If you want to help us create the content we've been making, go on over to patreon.com/prettygoodgame. You get early access to the podcast as well as the Discord channel, and it really, really does help us out. Cannot stress that enough. He's been Gaz, I've been Henry. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. Can't wait for the inevitable comment where it's like, I'm one of those people who doesn't watch Game of Thrones. Can you believe I've never seen Star Wars? Well, fuck off, no one cares. You're gonna upset every side of the fence, which is excellent. Pros and the cons, everyone from the whole spectrum. Maximum triggerage.